Until the 1st of February, I'm excited to be partnering with HelloFresh UK. Get money off fresh meal kits delivered to your door by using the discount link or the checkout code in the description below. Get 50% off your first box and 35% off the following 3, as well as 3 free gifts. If you want to see more from HelloFresh UK, then check out my social medias where I've been sharing my meals the last few weeks. And what's best, if you sign up, you help support the channel and you can cancel at any time. Hello and welcome along to match day 29 of Championship score predictions from the Honest Football Podcast. We are back today with a slightly shorter fixture list than usual because 11 Championship teams have made it to the FA Cup 4th round and their games have obviously been postponed, leaving us with just 3 matches to talk about this weekend. So we'll have an in-depth look at those and of course predict our scores, but very quickly we've got to go and have a recap of what happened last week because for the first time in a couple of weeks, I won a match day. 9 points, including 1 perfect score. That I deserve more than 3 points for, I'm saying, because I predicted Bristol City 1, Blackburn 1, the 28th game of the season, and I called the Blackburn draw and got the score right. I am taking genius credit for that. However, very close, W&G fan got 7 points and a perfect score as well. But there is one moment that cost me going into double figures and it's angered me a bit. So let's have a quick recap of what I said last week. It's between 1-1 and maybe Preston nicking it for me. So do you know what? I'm going to sit on the fence with the Championship's favourite scoreline. I'll be very angry if Preston win this 2-1, but I'm going to go for 1 apiece. Just a little bit annoying, eh? But anyway, that match day is out the way. I did still manage to pick up 9 points. So let's move on to the 3 fixtures that have survived this weekend. And we start with Coventry City versus Huddersfield. Now, this is going to be a tricky one to predict because Coventry were on the end of a new manager bounce last week. David Wagner continued his brilliant start at Norwich City. 4-2 to Norwich. They were absolutely brilliant. And Coventry, to be fair, probably second best throughout. I think that's a fair statement. They were 3-0 down in 18 minutes, Coventry. Showed a little bit of grit to get back into it quickly after that. But let's be honest, Norwich were the better side. They deserved to win. And Coventry aren't in the best of form at the minute. That is 6 without a win since Christmas, including that defeat against Wrexham in the FA Cup and including defeats, albeit against very top sides. If you'd gone at the start of the season, a lot of people would have had Burnley, Sheffield United and Norwich in their top 3 or 4. So I don't think we can be too disappointed that they've lost to them. And I don't think Coventry will be targeting those games. It is something we talk about a little bit when people get excited or underwhelmed by form. We mentioned it in the flip side with Rotherham at the start of the season. You do just get spells where you play all of the great teams or all of the teams down the bottom of the league. And unfortunately, bar maybe the Cardiff and Bristol City draws, which they would have liked wins from, Coventry just have had a run of stinkers, particularly in terms of their home game against Norwich and the timing of it. It's very hard to judge Huddersfield though because they didn't play last weekend. Their game was off at Blackpool. They could have been on the end of a new manager bounce, but Mick McCarthy's side could not get the game on. So for Huddersfield, we can only really judge on that 1-0 against Hull where they were pegged back in the 98th minute. And of course, they are still 3 points from safety. Waiting on Cardiff to appoint a manager. Can they get closer to them in this one? If they win the game, they will go above them on goal difference ahead of Cardiff's game on Tuesday night at Luton Town. But for this game, I've got to go for Coventry. They've had a horrible run of games against top teams. If they get themselves in form, if they produce their usual home form, which by the way, is still pretty decent overall, I'm going to back them to win it. Huddersfield, the only side not to pick up double figures worth of points on the road. So Coventry going to win. I think Huddersfield will score because Coventry have let in a lot of goals recently. I'm going to go for 2-1 to the host. I was tempted by 3 there. Do you know what? I'm going to go 3. 3-1 Coventry City. Well, you saw the clip from last week's episode that featured in the recap there. I've got a feeling that moment of changing the score might be the same. But let's move on to the second game, which is Hull City versus Queen's Park Rangers. Now, Hull City are doing really solidly at the moment. I think Liam Rosenior is going under the radar in terms of doing an absolutely stellar job so far. For them, it was a 1-0 defeat at Sheffield United, an early goal, but otherwise they were in the game. It wasn't a terrible performance. A little bit of disappointment with the late red card, of course. And I'm being fair, Sheffield United were the better side, but Hull kept the ball a bit better. They are a little better defensively under Liam Rosenior. In fact, they're a lot better defensively. Again, that 98th minute equaliser against Huddersfield was crucial the week before. They won't be devastated to be out the FA Cup. but they've played the sides down the bottom and they've always picked up points. The draws against Huddersfield and Blackpool, add to that the wins at Birmingham and Wigan, they're looking pretty good on the road. At home, it's a slightly different story. They've got the 4th worst record at home in the league. They've let in the 2nd most goals after Wigan Athletic at home. But QPR are draws galore at the minute. It's 3 in a row in the league now. They drew at Reading, they drew against Sheffield United, but last time out they drew 1-1 with Swansea. Again, a late equaliser cost them, but good to see Jamal Lowe on the score sheet. Without having the ball, it was a better performance. Wasn't very much like a Neil Critchley side as you saw at Blackpool, but they were good on the counter-attack. They did create chances, and it is something Hull have struggled with. QPR, I would imagine, will let Hull have the ball. They'll try and press them high, force those defensive errors. But this is a real mid-table game at the moment, and whoever wins it, whoever loses it, may start looking up or down. So I think we've got to go safely for a draw here. But there's something about me that just tells me QPR are going to nick this. Both teams have got a couple of 1-1 draws recently, and I do feel like I should chuck in a Championship's favourite scoreline. But against my better judgment, I'm going for 2-1 to QPR. I'm going to end up with a lot of regret this weekend, aren't I? Right, on to the final of our 3 games on Saturday. And it is, as it stands, what would be a playoff semi-final this year. 6th place Middlesbrough against 3rd place Watford. Both had disappointing weekends last time out. Watford held at home to Rotherham, a game where they did have the better of it but weren't able to put them away. Again, clear chances going to waste, but Watford, getting those injuries back slowly but surely, they will improve as the season goes on. And Middlesbrough had been absolutely excellent recently, but a little bit of ill discipline and a Dale Fry red card cost them against Sunderland. It was a pretty nothing first half, there wasn't a great deal in it. But after the red card, Sunderland put them to the sword, and a 2-0 defeat saw Borough losing a league for the first time in a while. This one's going to be a little bit tricky because Borough have only lost 2 home games this year, but they've drawn quite a few. Watford on the road, very similar, a bit of a mixed bag. You don't know what you're going to get. They had a shocking day at Reading, they had a shocking day at Swansea, and they also had a shocking day at home to Millwall on Boxing Day. But in between all of that, a brilliant win at Norwich. They were good against Blackpool last time out, and then against Rotherham, they didn't play awfully. They just weren't able to take chances. So it is quite tricky to predict, but Middlesbrough, I'm going to say it's a blip in the road. I'm a little worried about losing a key defender because, of course, Watford's attacking talent is very good. It is the strength of their team when everyone's on fire. But if you take aside the weekend, given the form Middlesbrough have been in, you cannot predict them to lose. If they're at their best and if they score early, and if Watford will, as we have seen at times when they've let in the first goal, they will be on the end of a hiding here. However, if Watford get the first goal, they very rarely lose a game, and this is where it's tricky. It's very hard to see Watford coming back from a losing position. I know they got the point against Rotherham from it, but when they let in the first goal against Millwall, against Swansea, particularly in that Swansea game, they just capitulated. And Middlesbrough have been the one team in the league taking full advantage of that at the moment. I came into this prediction planning to go for a draw, but I've gone for something different in all 3 games. So apologies to Watford fans. It is one of the form teams in the division you're facing. I'm going to go for Middlesbrough to nick it. And I'm going to go by 2-1. So let's have a quick recap of what I've predicted for matchday 29. And am I going to be living with regret again? Because last weekend I changed 1 score late on. Here, I've written down 3 scores based on my research for the games, and I have ignored all of them and gone for something different. That might live to be a regret. We'll see which points comparison is better in next week's match day. The ones that I put on paper or the ones I've said in this episode. If you want to find out though and you did enjoy this episode, please do put a thumbs up on it. Let me know your score predictions down in the comments. Do you agree or disagree with my predictions? Subscribe for regular content from the Honest Football Podcast. You can support the show as a channel member by clicking the join button down below. There's a link in the description and the eye above to today's sponsor, HelloFresh. But thank you for watching as always. Enjoy your weekend. And I'll see you back here on Sunday evening for a Luton v Cardiff midweek special.